Who we surround ourselves with determines how successful we can be in life. Part of the process of becoming successful is learning how to deal with difficult people that display negative behavior traits in our life. Difficult people carry behavior viruses, and if we want to be successful in life, we have to inoculate ourselves against those viruses so that we do not also adopt those traits and behavior patterns. In this video, we will break those behavior traits down into 4 main viruses and help you spot them, understand them, and ultimately protect yourself from them. We will also help you create healthy boundaries so that you can protect yourself from these negative behavior traits. Sometimes even the people we love and care about can exhibit some of these tendencies, but we have to learn to protect ourselves first before we can help others who have become infected with these behavior viruses. We will start with the easiest to spot and we'll move on to the most complex at the end. Virus number 1, the toxic virus. The main behavior traits: anger, mockery, manipulation, diminishing of other people. Now, an important note, be careful not to confuse these people with people that are hurt and vulnerable and are just trying to push other people away as a self-protection mechanism, as they can be easily confused if you're not careful. But the people that have contracted the toxic virus often think they are superior to everyone around them. In the true narcissist, you will see consistent mocking behavior towards you as an individual or something about you. This is done so that they can dominate you and keep you emotionally on edge. When you are emotionally on edge, you are easier to manipulate. And another way to spot them is they often think they're the smartest person in the room, even when it's obvious that they're not the smartest person in the room. They cannot see that. They cannot understand that someone else in the room might be smarter than them. So how to deal with them? Well, let's start with what not to do. Don't argue or reason with them. They only have 2 responses: to mock you or get angry with you, and the more you argue with them, the worse this behavior gets. Also, do not try to fix them. They will just get angry if they sense you are trying to do this, and their behavior will get even worse. What to do? Ignore them, distance yourself from them. If you experience them online, delete their comments and block them. If you have to deal with them in person, change whatever you can to minimize the amount of time you have to spend with them. Virus 2, the lazy virus. Main traits: low aspirations, inability to solve problems. Now, another important note, we must be careful here not to confuse these lazy traits with people that have had little opportunity in life and come from genuine poverty. We are talking here about people that have had access to opportunities, have had support, but cannot be bothered to take advantage of it. Now, people with this virus are always making excuses for failure. They are always the victim in life. They never take responsibility for their poor results. They will always justify their lack of ambition by blaming their environment, their upbringing, and everyone around them. Another thing to observe is that they are often very untidy people and don't seem to have much regard for what other people think about them. They also waste a lot of time on unprofitable activities. How to deal with them? What not to do? Don't spend time with them. When you spend time with them, you become infected by their laziness, by their habits, by their attitudes. They will discourage you from seeking success so that you will stay in the lazy pit with them. The more people they have in the lazy pit with them, the more self-justified they will feel. So what to do? Seek out positive people instead and spend time with them. Look for people who are seeking success in life, trying to set up businesses, or trying to get on in life by building a career. Look for people who are building something. Distance yourself from the lazy man who never wants to leave the lazy pit and better themselves. Virus 3, the foolish virus. Main traits: very emotional and unreasonable, very impulsive. Important note, we must be careful not to confuse people who live out of their emotions with people that have genuine mental health issues arising from abuse or neglect, or have actual physical issues preventing them from operating in a rational way. Some people have had genuinely tough lives and deserve compassion. We are talking here about people that place their emotions over their intellect deliberately and by choice. Now, this group live their life through their emotions. They are difficult to reason with. They are very erratic and make very emotional decisions based on their feelings, and they respond emotionally to every challenge in life. Now, here's a key way to identify them and separate them from other people. They worship their emotions and demand that you worship them as well. And they get upset when you refuse to accept their emotional values as the absolute truth in life. They display strong emotional outbursts whenever a trial enters their life or someone disagrees with them. How to deal with them. What not to do. Do not respond to their emotional outbursts with your own emotional outbursts. Because if you do that, you are behaving just like them. And the temptation is to do the same. When someone's emotional with us, what we often want to do is be emotional back. And this is how we contract the foolish virus. We do not want to assume their emotional values are true, because the minute we do that, they become justified in their emotional values, in their emotional outbursts. What to do? Respond to them in a calm and patient manner. Keep your own emotions in check. Don't accept their faulty emotional values, and ask them to justify what they are saying. And you can do this by asking them some simple questions to try and help them engage their intellect. Questions like, why do you think that? What makes you say that? After a while, once you've been questioning them, they will start to contradict themselves because their beliefs are not founded in reality, but in how they feel about reality. And feelings change constantly, which means their beliefs change constantly. They are referencing their heart, their emotions, and if those things change, they will express different beliefs. And this is why it can be very difficult and frustrating to reason with them, because they will change their position constantly, and this is a very easy way to spot them. They will have one emotional response to what you're saying and express a position, and when that emotional outburst isn't accepted, they will change their position to another emotion, and they will keep jumping all over the place in the conversation and in their views. Now, when asked to justify what they are saying, they will realize that it sounds foolish. When they start speaking it out loud and when you start getting them to contradict themselves, which they cannot help but do, they will realize that they're sounding foolish. They will start to avoid you as they start to associate you with someone who is challenging them to think, and that makes them uncomfortable, because that is often the last thing they want to do, because they are not used to explaining their emotional values and beliefs. They usually just assert them, push them out into the world, and expect everybody to accept them. And now you're beginning to make them feel very uncomfortable. If they refuse to engage in a rational discussion over a prolonged period of time, distance yourself from them as much as possible. If you cannot change their behavior with your interventions, there's no point in keep trying to waste your time with those interventions if they're not interested in your help, if they're not interested in working through their emotions. Virus 4, the negative virus. Main traits. They are always negative and focus on all the problems in life. Now, an important note, we're not talking about someone dealing with genuine issues in their life and or depression, someone who needs help and support, often professional help. We are talking about someone who is a constant complainer, who would go on holiday, swim in the sea, kiss a dolphin, and then come back and complain about the holiday and how the dolphin's breath smells. These people want to talk about all the bad news in the world and in their life. They complain about other people a lot, especially those closest to them. They do this every day. They are rarely in a happy mood. Now, the reason they do this is so that they can get an emotional release. They dump all their negativity into the world and they get a temporary relief from that. And the reason they do that is they lack the ability to process their emotions with their intellect. In other words, they have low emotional awareness. They have low emotional intelligence. The problem is, when they do that, they have now dumped that on you, and it can affect your mood, your day. What not to do? We have to be particularly careful here, as this is the most infectious and dangerous of all the viruses, as it looks quite innocuous, but it is extremely infectious. We have a natural tendency to want to fall into these behavior patterns, particularly if things are not going our way in life at a particular moment in time. but it is something that has to be overcome in everyone's life if they want to be a success. And everyone in life has to learn how to overcome and defeat this virus. We all suffer from this one. We must never start moaning with them or agreeing with them. What will happen is we will get depressed very quickly. What we talk about and what we express directly affects our mood. So we definitely don't want to join their pity party because that's how we get infected. What to do? Start talking about something good that you have heard about. Share positive experiences with them. Try to help them engage their intellect by focusing on something good in their life that you know about them. They often cannot do this by themselves. They have probably never learned to put the intellect in charge and focus on the positives. They have always just responded to whatever negative emotions they are experiencing right now and dumping them out in the world. If you cannot get them focused on anything positive, withdraw gently from them to keep your own mindset positive to protect yourself. So there we have 4 traits of difficult people that we have to deal with and we have to contend with. We also have to be careful that we don't manifest these traits, as we are all capable of becoming infected with these viruses, as they are very common to the human condition. Now, I hope this has given you some ideas on how to deal with these traits as you encounter them in life. We are only as successful as the people we surround ourselves with, so remember that when you are choosing your friends in life. Now, we don't get to choose everyone who comes into our life, but what we can do is we can make sure that we control and minimize the amount of impact they have in our life through our own personal choices and our own behavior responses. Like and subscribe if you found this content interesting, and drop a comment below and let me know if you agree or disagree. This channel's main focus is teaching people on how to have the mind of the entrepreneur. So if you're starting your own business, one of the things you're going to need is marketing training. So make sure you check out our completely free marketing course, which already has over 40,000 students and an average 4.5-star rating. I will put a link to that in the description below. If you would like to support this YouTube channel, then you can also get access to my Business Buddies community for a very small monthly fee. I will put a 50% discount link in the description for our YouTube subscribers. The community comes with free masterclasses that will train you in all aspects of online business building and entrepreneurship, plus free bonus courses, plus my support based on 20 years of experience building online businesses. Our courses have been taken by over 300,000 students from all over the world, so we must be doing something right. So join us over there if you want some help building your own online business and you would also like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I look forward to catching up with you in the next video.